This is a place.
This is the place?
This is a place. We want to talk about. This is a place.
Thank you for listening to TIAPP. My name is Brandon, and I'm with a man who is not just an RM, but an LDS RM, who was trained at the MTC, who became a DL, a ZL, and an AP, who was promised long ago by his bishop through a PPI after BYC that someday he'd be the EQP. I smell GA. Nate.
LOL.
SMH.
Shma. That's a
You were an AP, right?
no. Like
What?
Dwight Schrute.
Wow.
Dwight Schrute. I was an assistant to the, or no, assistant to the AP.
Assistant to the AP.
Yeah. So I was companions with the AP, but not an AP. If that makes any sense to you, they called it kind of the
Troubled
AP
missionary
training,
is what it sounds
AP
like.
training. What's
No,
that?
No. Troubled missionary is what it sounds like.
Yeah, that too. But yeah, I was put into what some were calling like the AP training program, and I obviously failed. So I never. Yeah, so there's usually one decent. I think that was me. I could have been both troubled missionaries, and then it seemed like the other one was always like a troubled missionary. So yeah, I didn't make it to the AP slot. So
Didn't fulfill that promise from your BYC, huh?
No, did not make it to the top of the ladder.
Have you yet been the EQP?
Heavens, no. And do I want to? No. No. That would be a rough calling. So,
man, some people have definitely tuned out already this far into the episode with all these
members and
Mormon
non-members
acronyms.
alike.
Yeah, everybody's like, yeah, I'm not going to do this one.
We're talking about a religious subject, which we don't do very often. Try not to do.
But we do quite frequently anyway.
But yeah, I mean, there's no surprise to anybody out there, unless you don't know what a Mormon is. The Mormons. But yeah.
So in the early 2000s, there were a slew of movies that came out.
And it really kind of started with the Singles Ward, right?
Yeah.
Where it was kind of a surprise hit, at least among the Utah people. And it kind of
started a whole wave of them.
Yes.
I was growing up at the time of these movies, and so they were very impressionable to me, and I enjoyed them quite a bit.
That's a good point. So you were just a child when these movies came out. But for me, especially like the Singles Ward, I think that came out, 2001, 2002. So I was freshly home from my mission. And so it was kind of fun. I did watch the Singles Ward the other day for the first time in a long, long time. And it was kind of nostalgic. Walk down memory lane, just remembering that time was very similar to not what I was going through, but the things that were going on in the world at the time.
Yeah, when you were watching the movie.
So, and even watching kind of a little bit of our subject today, the RM, kind of struck a chord as well. Like pretty similar to my times coming home from the mission. So luckily my family did not move. And there was people there to meet me at the airport. So I didn't have to go through that. But
I think the RM was the first movie I watched when I got home from my mission. And
Well, had you seen it before?
yes,
Okay.
but it's a strange movie to pick right home from your mission because it doesn't make things seem like they're going to be so great.
A lot of times when people write movies and stuff like that, they do it from their own personal experience or stories that they've heard. So I wonder if it was just a bunch of stories that got put into one movie.
Little things that happen to different people that took part in the movie and wrote their stuff into it.
Yeah. So
if you want to take a trip down memory lane like we did, always got the Living Scriptures streaming service, and you can do a free trial, which I definitely did, to research this movie and these topics that we have today.
yeah.
And Nate used mine too.
And I used your password to watch the RM, but another movie we are talking about today is Mobsters and Mormons, and I already have the DVD copy of it. And when I brought it upstairs from the basement from my pile of DVDs, which is kind of a dying breed, right? My wife's like, "Oh, you went out and bought Mobsters and Mormons," and I'm like, "No, you gave it to me as a birthday present 15 years ago." So my wife didn't even remember a gift that she bought me, which was Mobsters and Mormons. So,
which different? It's a different take on the Mormon movie categories, but still a worthy good one to watch.
Yeah, that one is
not as heavy on the tropes. That one's a little more, I guess you could say, real life.
Mobsters and Mormons?
Yeah, it's more like Singles Ward and RM, they rely heavily on all those tropes and stereotypes. And Mobsters and Mormons does that a little bit, but it's more a storyline with less of the jokes thrown in.
Yeah, and I would think if you weren't familiar with the Utah culture that you would understand Mobsters and Mormons better than you would the RM.
You could put yourself in the shoes of the mobsters in the story and kind of be on their side.
But it still does help if you know the Utah culture to get a few of the jokes in Mobsters and Mormons. But it's definitely entertaining for sure.
Both of them great movies, and it was fun to watch them again. But I think the most fun about it was we actually got to talk to one of the stars from these two movies. So we're here with Britani Underwood, who has had quite a career, most notably for us here in a couple of local movies, which is why we know about her. But so much more that even went into that. So do you want to tell us about your background and how you got started in the entertainment industry?
Sure. Well, first, I just want to say I'm so grateful to be here. Thanks, you guys, for having me, Brandon and Nate. And I really enjoyed your little song intro. This is the place. I was really clever.
Probably sound better if you sang it for us. So I don't know. But
no, I was going to say that. Can I pull up my guitar and then have you sing the intro for us for this episode?
And who played the instruments? I want to know. Who was on the banjo? Was that you?
It was a guitar, but
you could use a banjo. That's a good idea.
That's true.
I like the suggestion.
I have a sliver of musical talent, nothing compared to you, but
no, I could tell. Very clever.
Enough to play in the award road shows. That's about
it. Totally. I've done my fair share of road shows.
There you go. I don't think a lot of people even know what those are anymore, right?
Probably not.
Cutthroat. If you've grown up in the LDS culture, those road shows, there could be a movie about them, like Church Ball. It's
the road show.
Cutthroat.
Well, you should write and direct and produce a movie for us.
Actually,
and we can be in it. This could be our big break, Brandon.
Yes.
You know what? That's actually kind of a brilliant idea. Roadshow.
The people. Let's make it happen. Come on.
I was going to say, I'm going to have to contact my friends. In fact, I'm going to call them right after this. I'm not kidding.
Good.
Anyway, yes, I'm Britani Underwood. I'm so excited to be here with you guys. Nate and Brandon, thanks for having me. I'm an actor and I'm a singer, and I was in those movies that you just referenced, Mobsters and Mormons and the RM, which, you know, you gave a pretty great monologue from that, the DL and the ZL and the AP after the BYP or I can't remember. And I have to say, I have a funny story to tell first, but I was talking to my mother-in-law today and I referenced the DTR. Nate, do you know what that is? The DTR?
Oh, yeah. I dated before.
Yes. And she was like, what? And I was like, you know, the DTR. So what is it with like Mormons and these acronyms? I don't know.
Yeah.
BYC after FHE. So the DTR, the DTR, for those who don't know, is define the relationship. So anyone who's listening, if you want to know what DTR means, that's it. Anyway, you asked me what my background is. Thanks for asking. I grew up in a very musical family. My parents met in a battle of the bands in Park City. So they met doing music. My dad fell in love with my mom, who was in the competing band. They formed a new band. And so I've been singing in bands and singing on stage since I was 4 because, you know, I mean, I was in my mom's stomach, a lot like Mobsters and Mormons, like my child was with me when I did that. But I listened to them playing. And then as soon as I could, I was up there singing with them in the band. So grew up in a musical family. I was born here in Provo and we moved to San Diego when I was 5. And then we started this family show, like singing and dancing and tap dancing and choreography and costume changes, a lot like our road show that we love to talk about. And it was great. It was just really bonding. And we performed all over Nevada and California and Utah and, you know, came up here to perform several times to Utah, and it was great. Made us really tight. And then I went off to BYU and graduated in musical theater, which is a triple major. It's music, dance, and theater. You have to take 3 majors. I did that and then did theater, just like went hardcore. Did some fun stuff in between plays. Like I took a job right out of college at Disney World where I got to play Ariel and Belle in the shows, and that was a total blast. Driving my little convertible to work, and I just felt like $1 million. And Disney's so fun. You get the front of every line, and you get all your friends and family that want to come down and visit you. They get to the front of every line, and it's just, I'm serious, like the best job ever. And then I went on to do more serious theater. I did played Oliver. I played Nancy and Oliver against Christopher Lloyd, who was so fun. He played Fagin and I played Nancy. And then I did Umbrellas of Cherbourg, and I did Deer World opposite Maureen McGovern, who sang that song from Superman. You guys remember Superman when we were all little?
Mm-hmm. Read My Mind.
Yep, that's the one. That was her. She sang that, and we got her to come play opposite. She played the lead opposite me in Umbrellas of Cherbourg and another show called Deer World. And then I went on to do Tokyo Disneyland, where I played Ariel, and I recorded all the lip sync tracks over there for their shows. And that was a total blast. And then I did Broadway, which was the total pinnacle of my theater career. It was absolutely incredible. I played Ellen and Miss Saigon. I was in the second national Broadway tour. So we toured all over the US and Canada. And then I started having babies. Theater is so hard because it's 8 hours of rehearsal every day. And then when you're doing shows, it's 8 shows a week and you're just gone so much. It's so time intensive. So I sort of transitioned into film and TV. So I started doing movies, and the RM was my very first real actual part in a movie, you know, where you're not just a little tiny one-liner or an extra or something. I actually had a really good part. So it's near and dear to my heart because it was my very first lead in a movie.
Were you trying to get into the movie business, or did that kind of just fall into your lap?
That was such a good question. it kind of both. It kind of, the film and TV and the recording industry and just the arts around here are such a tight knit group. It's such a small world that I think, oh, I think both. I mean, I was already doing little stuff like commercials and industrials and voiceovers and stuff, but I hadn't really broken out into films until the RM. But I had recorded something. I was a recording artist too. You have to wear a lot of hats in this industry to make a living. So I was recording quite a bit, and I had recorded for someone's movie. His name is Ryan Little. So we became friends. So I'd been recording for him in his movies. And then one day I get a text saying, "Hey, Britt, I'm going to be the DP, which is director of photography. I'm going to be the DP.
Another
on this
acronym.
movie. Come audition for me." Yeah, the DP with the EL and the AP. Just kidding. Anyway, I get this text. He's like, "Hey, they're auditioning right now. Just come down the street and, come audition for me." So I went in and they handed me the sides. Sides are like part of a script that you use to audition with. They're just a couple pages of script. They handed me the sides. I walked in and I pretty much just got the job. Like it was so dreamy. So I mean, I was already in the industry, but then I kind of fell into it by who I knew, which, I owe my whole film career to Ryan Little. I have to say, shout out. Awesome director. He's directed some incredible stuff since being the DP on the RM. But anyway, so that's kind of how I got into film.
And you noted that it wasn't just the RM. You did multiple movies like the RM, Mobsters and Mormons. You mentioned the one that we hadn't seen, Believe, the MLM movie.
Yes. Yeah, I did.
Different things you've done.
That's a spoof on multi-level marketing, which is also totally Utah-centric, right?
Oh yeah.
Completely appropriate for Utah. I did the Yankles, which was like a Jewish baseball comedy. I know, right? But a lot of films come to Utah because the tax incentives are so great. So it's not a surprise that Disney movies and I mean just films from everywhere come to Utah. I mean the topography is beautiful, right? You have like the mountains and then the desert and the salt flats and the red rock, and so there's geographic reasons to choose Utah, but then also the tax incentives are usually fantastic. So the film industry is great here. But yeah, I've done the Yankles, I've done Forever Strong, I did.
Oh, that's right.
I played opposite. Well, I had just a tiny bit part in it again, opposite Sean Astin. You guys remember? He was a
Rudy.
Exactly.
No, he's the guy from Stranger Things.
No, he's the guy from.
Oh no, he's the guy from Lord of the Rings.
He's a hobbit.
Yep, that too. Yeah. So then, and then I did Mistletones, which is still playing on. It started out on ABC Family, but now it plays on Netflix and Prime, and all these movies I think are on Netflix and Prime, or most of them at least. But yeah, it's been incredible. I'm super grateful to just all my colleagues and everyone who's had faith in me. And I'm looking at a couple scripts right now too. One shoots in a couple weeks, and then one they're not sure what the shoot schedule is.
So how does that work? How often does an actor or actress get a script sent to them that the movie wants them in it to versus auditioning for a role?
Gosh.
Or does it kind of go hand in hand? How does that work?
That is such a good question. Honestly, like to have a script sent to you that someone wrote a part for you is just a dream. Like that's the way you want to do it. Like, I mean, big or small, as far as budget film goes, it doesn't matter. Like that is the dream. And I mean, it definitely happened after I did the RM. I think that you have to be talented enough, obviously, to get anywhere, and you have to know the right people most of the time, because just auditioning doesn't pan out until they know and can vouch for you, and then they just start writing scripts for you. I mean, that's my point in this, is that I'm fortunate enough to be, I don't know, just to know the right people well enough and to do a good enough job when they give me a job to want me to work for them again. I just feel really grateful for that. So that's how I got Mobsters and Mormons, actually. John Moyer was a co-writer for the RM. So Kurt Hale wrote the RM based on his experiences, like you suspected. One of you said that. One of you wondered, was that you, Nate?
I
Wondered
think
if,
so, yeah.
yeah, if the RM was written from a bunch of experiences. And that's exactly what happened. So Kurt Hale was on a cruise. This is his story. He was on a cruise with his family, and he just started jotting down stories of just like his own mission experiences and other people's when they got home. And the next thing he knew, he was just laughing like crazy and had a kind of a rough outline of a script. So then he teamed up with John Moyer, who wrote and directed the Mobsters and Mormons, and the two of them wrote the RM. So then the RM was successful. John Moyer wrote his own script, Mobsters and Mormons, based on kind of his experiences with people that moved into his neighborhood and felt like fish out of water. I can't remember where they're from, but that's his story. So,
But they weren't necessarily in the
Witness
witness protection
protection.
program,
yeah,
right?
I don't think so. Although, well, I don't know, maybe they were.
Well, that's why they're in the program, right? Because you're
Yeah.
not supposed to know.
But anyway, so he wrote Kate James, my character in Mobsters and Mormons, with me in mind. So then he gives me a call or a text and says, hey, I want you to look at this script I wrote with, this is the part that I want you to play. And I was like, ooh, yeah, about that. I'm 8 months pregnant, so I don't know if that's going to work. He's like, oh, man, snap. Okay. Well, I guess we're going to just audition other people. So he held auditions. I was super sad. But then a couple of days into auditions, I get another phone call that says, oh, we just still really want you to do it, Britt. We haven't found anyone that we love as much as you, which is so amazing.
Because it was written for you.
It was written for me. I know. He's such a doll. So he rewrote the part to be, a big pregnant woman, the wife of the bishop, total stereotype. Dyed my hair blonde to make me look more Mormon. That was the first time I was blonde in my life. I have dark hair naturally, but anyway, they wanted me, and then they had me do it twice too. They had me dye my hair once. That wasn't blonde enough, so I had to go back and get it done again. So anyway, and then yeah, so that's how Mobsters and Mormons came to be. Was circling back to your question, writing a script with you in mind is how I came to be in Mobsters and Mormons. So it doesn't happen very often, but when it does, that's every actor's dream, not to have to, hit the pavement, audition.
So once you have a brand, so to speak, then people start sending you scripts. But till then,
Yeah.
you've got to audition and make your own way.
Well, going back to your experience with the RM, if that's okay. I mean, you mentioned you had a pretty big role. You're basically the co-star in the movie. You're the love interest when the return missionary
The
gets
second
home.
love interest.
Sorry, second love interest. Spoiler alert, he gets a Dear John, but he doesn't get it.
He gets dumped for a guy named Kirby.
A vacuum cleaner.
And you guys know this well.
Watched it.
Just watched it 100 times growing up.
It's such a fun movie. And I heard you say, Brandon, sorry, I know you have a question, but I heard you say that was the first movie you watched when you got back from your mission.
Yeah.
Brutal.
I mean, I was too scared to watch other secular movies, so that was a good safe start. But
Right.
I just kind of wanted to set the tone for how things would be, life after the mission, and it's
that's
pretty
low,
accurate.
So it must have made you feel pretty good about yourself,
Yeah, that it wasn't
after
that bad.
watching that.
What was your experience like with that one? I mean, being just the small things you did before and then being thrown into a role like that. Like, what was the experience in being in the RM?
Oh, terrifying. Like terrifying. Honestly, like I just kept thinking, please don't suck. Please don't suck. Like every day I drive to set, please don't suck. Please don't suck. Say a little prayer. That's really true. Like I was terrified. I just wanted to do a good job. I just wanted to be natural. I just didn't want to be acty or weird or, and so it was also kind of stressful because at the time I was still doing a show at Sundance. So I would shoot all day until I had a cutoff. I had a super hard cutoff, which is kind of unheard of in film. You don't have cutoffs, like you film a scene until you film a scene, until you are done. And to have a hard cutoff where the actor has until 5 is really difficult for everyone on set because you just have delays and the lighting isn't right. And, I don't know. They were kind to work with me is what I'm trying to say. I'm grateful that they're willing to work with my hard cutoff. I had a hard cutoff every day at 5 because I would just jump in my car and race up the canyon to go play Nina in Deer World opposite Maureen McGovern, which was a dream. That was a dream job too. So I would shoot all day and then hop in my car and race up and do a show all night and then rinse and repeat. The next morning I'd be back on set. So it was a total blast, terrifying. I didn't want to suck. And it was super, super fun and exciting all at the same time. Had the best time with those guys. Those actors are so just, not only are they talented, but they're all just also just so kind. Like they're just so kind to me. That was my first, I was probably nervous, and they were just super cool and helpful. And I don't know. I just owe them a lot of gratitude.
Yeah.
And they're hilarious too. You get those guys on set together and I mean, it's just like, I don't know, being in a stand-up comedy club.
And you're referencing like specifically Kirby Hayborn, Will Swenson.
Will Swenson. Will and I go way back. We went to school together. We went to BYU together at the same time. So we've played opposite each other in lots of shows already. In fact, he was in my cast in Miss Saigon.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a total blast. And then our careers just sort of followed each other around. Like we graduated BYU at the same time. We both went to Disney at the same time. He played Gaston. I played Belle. And then we were cast also in another show together that we both ended up dropping out of, and then we played, we were together in Miss Saigon and then together in the RM. But so Will's a great guy and I know him. He's like a brother to me. But to get all those guys, what's that show down on Center Street in Provo? Comedy Sports.
Comedy Sports, yeah.
Oh, it's like Comedy Sports, like every day. Like it's amazing that we got anything done because it was just laughter and jokes and pranks and oh, they were so funny. That one scene in the RM where we're in Maverick and I'm driving that cute little not convertible. I guess it was. I had a convertible Mustang at BYU, but this one was red.
It's a cool looking car.
It was cool, huh? I had the exact same car in college, but it was a convertible. Is that rad or what? At BYU, the summers, It was so fun. But anyway, so we're driving into Maverick and we pull. Anyway, that whole scene where we have to start laughing in Maverick, where we get drinks out of the cooler and then we kind of walk down the aisle and he says something about
companion separation anxiety.
Said, yeah. And so he told me a joke every time, like right before they called action, blah, 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 he'd whisper some joke. And so we'd actually crack up for real. And then Kirby's just the best.
So he seems like a guy, like some actors, they're acting and then off scene they're completely different people.
Yeah.
But I feel like he's a guy that's not really acting. He's just being Kirby, right?
Yeah.
Is that who he is in real life? Or
I would say
he just seems like a pretty positive, just want to have fun type guy. But maybe I'm wrong in real life.
He's just as nice as he comes across on set. On film. He is just as nice on set as he seems in the films he does. And he can stretch too. I mean, he can play some really tough roles as well.
Yeah.
I think that, a good place to start as an actor is just to start being yourself and then sort of add on. That's my method. I just am who I am. Like right now, this is who I am in most of my movies, unless the character requires some quirks or tweaks so you start with yourself, who you are, your own thought process, and then you just sort of add to it. Kirby has that. He has that ability to really stretch and play hard roles and really stretch outside of himself, but mostly just, he is exactly who he seems to be. Just the nicest, kindest, super funny guy.
Yeah, at least when it comes to the RM and
those singles
ward, I feel like that's who he is in real life.
It is.
I don't think he's the missionary in, what's the missionary movie?
In Best 2 Years.
Best 2 years. I don't think he's like that. But I feel like the RM and singles ward, that's who he is. That's why I would imagine he would be in real life. So
do you have you mentioned the Maverick scene, but do you have any favorite scenes that you did in the RM?
Oh, the driving scenes were fun. Okay. Do you guys remember that restaurant in Salt Lake?
Yes, that's actually the one I was wanting to get to
Are you
because
serious?
that's my favorite part. We did an episode a couple months ago on the Mayan itself,
No
and
way.
so
Okay,
I'm glad you brought it up.
favorite scene. No, that is one of my favorite. That's the very first scene that comes to mind.
Uh-huh.
That was so fun. The atmosphere was great. We got to eat that yummy food. Yeah,
The
that was
perfect
that
place
was
to
really
do a
fun.
Book of Mormon burger.
Yeah, burger. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Fun, like one of the funnest scenes in the RM. They were all fun, honestly. Like they were all fun. I really liked the car scenes. I know that's a strange thing to say, but the car scenes where they pull you're not actually driving, but you're talking in the car, and they're just pulling your car around town on a trailer. That was kind of fun. Pull us around Target. I think I do have a favorite scene. The minivan scene.
Oh, that's a
The
good one.
minivan scene where everything is supposed to be just so gross. Oh, that was funny. Where the
Got your
mom
corsage on.
Yeah, totally not. But the mom is sitting like driving us around on our date with the car seat in between, and I put my hand on the baby chair, whatever. Like it's all sticky and gross, and like gross gummy bears stuck. And we're on a date. Gives me a corsage. Gosh, that's so funny. That was funny. That was fun.
It all culminates in a trip to the hospital as the mom gives birth.
Right. And we drove by the super Target in the background. Did you guys notice that?
I didn't.
Driving down. Do, 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 do.
Where was that at?
In Orem, right?
It was in Orem. We drove by the super Target in Orem. Shows it in the movie, but that is where I met my husband. My husband I met at that very super Target. So if anyone's ever watching the RM and that scene comes on, John and I are like, hey, that's where we met, right there. Anyway, what are your favorite scenes in the RM? Like Book of Mormon burger scene.
I don't know. It's necessarily like this. I don't know. Scenes
the
are
whole
just
movie.
it's just the quotes.
I just love the detail. Like talking about you guys going to the movie theater. If you look in the background, they made all these movie posters of movies that don't even exist. I think
one of them
is
the singles ward.
Yeah, exactly. The singles ward promoting their own movie. Also, I think there's one like the bishop's wife or something. Looks like some kind of a drama. So all those little things that you don't always pick up on the first time, but those little details that they really got down to that Mormon culture that we would understand. I thought that was pretty cool.
They obviously had so much fun writing that script.
Yeah.
I mean, you can tell just because of what you said, Brandon, the detail, like what do they call those food things that he had to sleep on in the basement?
Oh, like the food storage, the MREs.
The MREs, it's another acronym. The MREs. Yeah. And I just thought of another. I think my absolute favorite scene is not something that I'm in. It's where he's like outside and he gets bitten by the dog. He's trying to shake the dog off of his leg and then he falls into the pool. I wasn't even there for that day. I didn't even see them film that scene, and I can't help but just bust up every time I see it.
Gets kicked in the face, falls in the pool.
Kicked in the face by some guy.
Yeah.
I like the quote where that his dad's like, there's no reason in 6 months you can't be making $100,000. And he's like, wait, you've been doing this for 2 years. How much have you made?
That's part-time.
So true.
Or that same scene where he's like, hey, my sister's coming home from a mission. She's lost a ton of weight. She had a tapeworm.
She sounds like 100 pounds.
Yeah.
A lot of good.
Some of those jokes came from John too, John Moyer. Those two masterminds, Kurt Hale and John Moyer. And John wrote, directed, and was in Mobsters and Mormons.
Oh, he's in it. What?
He's the FBI agent.
Yeah, okay. That's right. Yeah.
Well, that too. Speaking of Mobsters and Mormons, another great one. Not quite the same format as these singles wards RM movies, but still riddled with Mormon culture and these other people coming in and being just completely submerged in it without having any knowledge except maybe like multiple wives or the coffee thing.
Yeah. Like you pointed out, it definitely has a different pace and a different feel, but a lot of the same inside jokes. Not as many though, because like you pointed out, the RM was just riddled with, I mean, in every scene had all these nuances. But yeah, Mobsters and Mormons has it's the same idea.
Yeah, you can definitely understand Mobsters and Mormons more if you're not from Utah. Compared to RM, you'd be like, this isn't funny.
Well, these jokes.
That's so true.
But to us, it's hilarious. But one thing you did mention is that you were pregnant while making Mobsters and Mormons. And when I was watching it, I was like, is she really pregnant? If not, that's a really great costume artist or whatever you call it. So that makes more sense now.
Yeah. The best thing about that was just that at that stage, I don't know if you guys have wives and if you have kids. Do you have wives and you have kids? Okay.
Sure do.
Well, then you know, at month 8, there isn't anyone who's out there buying maternity clothes and trying to look cute, right? You are just in sweats and you're just like in it for the long haul. You're just dying for month 9. I mean, you're dying to be done at that point. So it at least got my mind off of being miserably pregnant. And I'm out there shopping for maternity clothes at month, 8, 8.5. And I'm walking into a store. They're like, what are you doing here? Like, aren't you like almost done? And I'm like, I need some cute clothes. Help, please help outfit me. So that was the best part about filming that. The cute maternity clothes.
Well, you made it work.
Otherwise, never buy. I love that my daughter Olivia, who was in my tummy, she gets credit for that on IMDb.
Oh, cool.
I'm totally kidding. She does.
They should give her credit. Gosh dang it.
Don't you think? I'm going to apply for that. I'm going to I'm going to put her in for that. If you can.
She should get royalties from it too, right?
Yeah.
She should have been credited. Now that I think about it, I wonder if it's too late. But anyway, it's her claim. I mean, that was her first movie, literally. So.
Did you have any, being that far along, any close pregnancy, like scares in the filming at all?
I didn't. Although that would have made a great story. I was very emotional though. That one scene at the end where I'm crying because the Mobster family blew up in a car, and we're all crying, we're all sad. I'm moping around and I'm on the bed and I'm bawling. Oh, those tears are real. Those are real tears because I am full on hormonal at that point. Like the director's like, hey, Britt, do you think you could cry? I'm like, oh yeah, I can definitely cry.
The fact you're even asking me makes me want to cry.
You're like, Britt, they didn't really die. That's just part of the story.
Right. Are there any other scenes where you want me to cry? I can just cry anytime you want.
Well, that was a pretty cool scene actually too for a local film, like a whole explosion scene.
Right? That was our last day on set. That was quite the excitement. That's quite the hubbub around town, I have to say. And I also want to know, like, I've never asked this question, but how did they have those other 2 cars parked right next to the blow-up car?
That's a good question.
I just recently watched this movie and I noticed that in that scene, so really they're destroying 3 cars in one explosion, which is pretty, high budget for around here.
Yeah.
But they had to sell it. Right?
I was convinced. And you were too, crying. No problem.
Oh, yeah. We were all like hiding behind some barricade across the street for that scene.
Yeah.
And some bushes and some barricade. It was funny. Every movie is just so different and every cast is so different and your experiences are going to be just so varied that I don't know. I just feel really grateful. I feel really grateful to have done all the movies that I've done and the ones that I'm going to do. And it's just a fun business to be in.
So what else do we have to look forward to you in the future? You said you're going to be doing a couple, you're looking at some scripts, so maybe some more movies here coming up. What else you got going on?
I'm looking at 2 scripts right now. I don't think I can talk about them yet, but you guys will be the first to know.
Yes.
When I do, I'll let you know.
Because you're coming back on, right? Once.
Oh, yeah.
We have a chance.
And I'm recording an album this summer, Christmas album, that I'm super excited about that. It's fun to get back to my more musical roots.
Yeah.
So so watch for that. I hope to be recording that this summer. We're doing arrangements right now of some of my favorite Christmas tunes. And then hopefully the album will be out at Christmas time around October, November, something like that.
Well, can I ask what your favorite Christmas songs are that we might get to hear on there, or is that secret too?
Oh gosh, I love The First Noel and Oh Holy Night.
Oh Holy Night for
I
sure.
don't know. Do you guys have any requests?
Oh Holy Night was
Any
mine,
ideas?
so you got it.
Santa Claus is coming to town.
And I hear there's this new song called "This Is a Place." It's really good. If you want to cover that one too.
We did do our own. We did do our own Christmas song.
Well, yeah, we could make that a Christmas song, you guys. Can I license the rights from you? What do you think?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
as long as we get an autographed copy of the.
Exactly.
It needs a banjo, though. It needs a banjo.
A banjo.
Oh yeah, we need like a full-on band.
Yeah.
We gotta.
Right.
We're a year into this now. We gotta up our game.
Yeah.
Have you guys been? It's been a year.
Mm-hmm.
That's so cool.
And we just hit our year anniversary.
Oh, congratulations. Well, I'm so honored to be here. I really appreciate you guys having me.
Do you ever get recognized? Like, hey, are you the girl from the RM? Or hey, are you?
Yeah, you know what, I do all the time. And I can tell when they're playing the RM on KSL because I get recognized in like batches. Like it'll go for a couple weeks where I'm recognized all the time, sometimes even every day. I have to say, I mostly get the question, I know you from somewhere. How do we know each other? And I never like ever say, oh, well, I'm an actor. You might have seen me in this and that, because even though that's probably true, I think I've only ever done that twice in my whole life. And the two times that it happens, she's like, no.
No.
I saw you at the grocery store earlier today.
It was Facebook.
Like,
I know you from Facebook.
Yeah, exactly. I know you're from Facebook. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm never saying that again. So I just let them sort of figure it out, because who knows, maybe it was the post office or whatever. But most often they figure it out and they're like, oh, I know how I know you.
You hinted at it earlier, your story of meeting your husband. I think that's a fun story to share if you don't mind.
Oh, I'd love to. Yes. So I was just buying some salad ingredients on Pioneer Day, minding my own business. And I was buying some salad stuff for a party I was going to, and I checked out and I was pushing my cart and just saw the most handsome man I've ever seen.
I wasn't there.
To that point in her life.
Oh, okay.
She hadn't met you yet, Brandon.
I just thought inside my head, holy cow, that he is amazing. And I could tell he was a really good dad too, because he was there with his daughter who looked, and I knew it was his daughter because they looked exactly alike, just, she had long blonde hair and he obviously didn't have long blonde hair. So I just smiled and was hoping that he would follow me out to the parking lot, and sure enough, he did. And he came up to me and said, hey, I know you from Facebook. And I said, oh, that's a good line. I had to tease him a little bit. Can't be that easy. So, and he's like, no, I really do. And so we sort of sorted all that out. And he said, are you single? And I said, yes. And he said, do you want to go out? And I said, yes. And literally the rest is history. We've been pretty inseparable ever since. He's just the greatest guy.
So you just mentioned, well, we obviously know you have a kid because you were pregnant in Mobsters and Mormons. He has a kid. How many kids do you guys have together? So that's question number one. Question number two, are any of them in the show business? And question number three, how often do you show them your movies?
Oh my goodness, those are such
a lot of questions.
That's 3 questions, and then I'm done.
Those are such good questions. First of all, we have 5 together. We have 5 kids together. We've got 4 girls and 1 boy. And they are all musical, interestingly. Taylor, my daughter, is, 4 out of 5 are really musical. Taylor and Olivia, mine, sing and dance and act. And, of course, I'm going to start them in those little performing shows when they're little, because that's, what I did.
A good one would do.
They grew up singing and dancing, and I won't make our family do a family show though. Like I'm not gonna force that. So Taylor and Olivia, yeah, they've done a lot of theater. Taylor she played Eponine at UVU in Les Mis, and Olivia has played the voice of Swan Princess. She played the princess in Swan Princess in one of the Swan Princess movies.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, they continue to do stuff all the time. They're really musical. And then we have Meg and John Henry and Lauren, and those are John's. And Meg and John Henry are super talented. They both can sing and dance and act, but for some reason I haven't been able to convince them enough to, make anything of that, like to, pursue that hardcore. But okay, what was your question number 2? I lost track.
That was question number 2, if any of them are
They're
following your
musical.
footsteps. And then 3, how often do they watch your movies?
Oh, yeah. Oh, that is such a question. I hardly think they've seen any of my movies.
What?
Yeah. I know.
It's time.
When you're a mom, you're just not that cool, I guess. I'm not cool enough to be like, I think Taylor and Olivia, I grew up watching them, but I don't know. What's that about, you guys?
I don't know. I hear that a lot with actors, is that it's rare that they're kids. Unless if it's like a kid movie, right? Like it's like a cartoon or something. They don't.
Something that they're interested in.
But sometimes because actors are playing in movies, they shouldn't show their kids. So, but I don't think any of your movies so far, you would be embarrassed to show your kids. So
that's true. And, our daughter Taylor was in a movie that ended up being rated R where she couldn't even see it. So Taylor and Olivia have both been in theater and film, and they've grown up doing voiceovers and recordings and stuff. And Taylor was in this movie that I was into called Skinwalker Ranch. It's a horror film.
Oh.
She plays the little girl, the creepy girl in it. If you guys ever see it, she's the blonde little creepy girl.
We're gonna have to watch it.
There's some. Oh, you should. It's actually really good. And it's based on some true events, supposedly. But
again, here in Utah, Skinwalker Ranch.
Yep, it is. It's about that very place. But anyway, so my daughter Taylor plays the Skinwalker. Not to give you any spoilers, but there's a lot of CGI and all kinds of like stuff coming out of her head. And,
what?
And we couldn't show it to her. Like she couldn't see that. It's
how old was she when she did it? You think?
She was 10.
Oh,
she was 10 when she played that. So only recently, I think, has she like actually watched it.
All right. Well, we know you got to go plan that Christmas album. You got to go read your scripts. So we won't keep you much longer.
And rearrange our theme song. You got a lot to do.
Yeah. But thanks again for taking the time to do this with us and give us background into your career and the movies you've been in. We really appreciate it.
Oh, thanks, you guys. I really appreciate it.
Once again, thanks to Brittany for taking the time to revisit her career and her time in these movies with us. It's always fun to hear the behind the scenes.
Kind of fun to hear how it all gets put together. And interested to hear about her new movie that we don't know. We'll have to have her back on to talk about that when it comes out. Whatever it may be.
I'm holding out hope that it's going to be The Ministering Brothers, be the name of the movie.
Well, didn't they already have a movie called Home Teachers?
They did, but it'll be different now. Which, that's another interesting thing, just how different, taking a look back at these movies, how different the culture is. I mean, there's still those elements and you still get the jokes, but things have changed quite a bit since the early 2000s.
But I believe they're still having dances. Singles dances. So
just make sure if you go to one that all divorces are finalized before.
Yeah. My favorite part of the RM was definitely, is it Wally Joyner?
Yeah.
And his wife doing that kind of infomercial in the middle of the movie. Cracked me up the first time I saw it. And then the look on Kirby's face, like, what? Who are they talking to?
Which UtahWeddings.com is a real website. So I wonder if that was a real ad that they actually put in the movie. And we all thought it was a joke, but it was real.
I think it was. I think it was a real ad. So I think that was kind of the funny part of it too. And there were just so many outside of Britney, but there were just so many people like
So many cameos.
Utah, cameos, Utah famous people. And one thing I didn't realize is that Will Swenson was in The Greatest Showman.
Yep.
I never put two and two together,
But next time, I'm sure this will not be the only time we revisit these classic movies. I'm sure we'll find another opportunity. And then it'll be your turn to sign up for the free trial, Nate. And I'll
there we go.
curtail off of yours because I've
We'll
already
have to
canceled
wait.
mine.
We'll have to wait until Singles War 2 is on there.
Yeah.
But do you know they have like an LDS film festival?
I've heard of this.
Yeah. Some guy I saw on the news a few months ago that some guy just bought it. And I think they're still planning on doing it this year. I think they do it at the Sierra down in Orem.
We'll watch for that, as that'll be coming soon. But now will it be called the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints Film Festival?
That's what I'm wondering. I feel like when we say that, it's kind of like calling someone by their full name. Like you're like Nathan Barnett Linnell. You have to say that every time you're talking to me.
Wait, Barnett?
Nathan Barnett.
Oh, Nathan Barnett.
That's my middle name, Barnett.
I didn't know that. I just learned that. We all just learned that together, me and the listeners.
It's my mom's maiden name, Barnett. What's your middle name, Brandon?
Stephen, which is actually my father's name, and I should give him a shout out because it was through him and his connection to Brittany's husband that we were able to get in contact with her and have her on the show. So thanks, Dad, for hooking it up and for being a top supporter of the podcast.
Yeah, we didn't think my son's through. His middle initial is E, Edward. So his name's Rocky E. Linnell.
Rocky E.
Rocky E. Linnell. You're just going to say his middle.
Of course you didn't think about it. You had one thing on your mind, and that was naming him Rocky.
Yeah.
And there was no persuading you any other way.
Nope. That was part of my original contract when I dated a girl. It's like, oh, let's get this out of the way at the first date. If you're not okay naming our first son or having your first son named Rocky, then we should even move forward.
Rocky E.
It was my disclosure. There was not a contract, disclosures.
This was a first date type of thing, huh?
Well, yeah, I'm not going to spend money on a girl if it's not even a possibility to name their first child Rocky.
Here's a question, though. On your first date, did you always get the girl a rose corsage? If the answer is no, how did you even get married?
I don't know. And that's funny too about it. Is it mostly just Utah culture where you have to, when you ask a girl out, you have to like decorate their...
You mean for a dance?
Not even necessarily dance. I feel like they still do it like in college too, right? Just
really?
To go on a date.
No. Just dances.
I don't know. I've known a few people who've done it just for going on a date, but
it's a pretty Utah thing.
Yeah. Is that still going on though?
Dances?
That too. I hope not with COVID, but doing the asking somebody out that way. Because I feel like the reason that started is that we're too shy to go and ask a girl into their face. And back in my day, you either had to talk to them face to face or you had to call them. You couldn't email them. I mean, what are you going to do? Write them a letter, send it in the mail? But nowadays you can like text somebody, right? And you can hide behind a computer.
Yeah.
You know, so I wonder, is that still a thing though? When you're asking somebody to dance, do you still do the puzzles or whatever to get them to guess who's asking them out?
I really hope so. Maybe that's how I should ask you to go on our next adventure.
Will you go on an adventure with me?
Will you go to Wendover with me?
Please dig through this box of rice. Fine.
You know who you look like? You look like the dude.
The dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. Huh? With my sweater. Never
Yeah,
thought
man.
of that.
You look
Yeah,
straight up.
man. Yeah, man. I've only seen that movie like once.
Get your white Russian.
That's a good idea. I should be the dude.
Dude, you should be the dude. Don't cut your hair. You're the dude.
So you can be John Goodman. And I'll be.
What is that? That's supposed to mean I could be John Goodman.
Yeah.
Some
and
kind of a
I'm,
fat joke.
What's the name of the dude? The guy who plays the dude? Jeff Bridges? Yeah, but you're like the badass in the movie, though. We should totally do a bowling episode now.
Oh, yeah.
Just before we cut. I had to do it before I cut my hair now, and then we can be like the dude.
Ah, frick, man. We got to do bowling episode.
All-star lanes, here we come.
So let us know your favorite part from one of these movies or what your favorite quote unquote Mormon movie is, which one you'd like to have us do next.
As long as we can get somebody as awesome as Britani to come and chat about it.
Tough act to follow. Thanks for listening to This Is a Place podcast.
SYNW.